What's up, everybody? This is Rob of Archangel Ink, www.archangelink.com, and it is my pleasure to present part 2 of the interview that was hosted by Dale Roberts and featuring me. And you can find out more about Dale over at his page. I will include a link down below to both the original video and to subscribe to his videos. He is a great resource for self-publishers out there, has lots of good information, so definitely check him out and subscribe. Thank you so much, Dale, for putting this interview together, and it is my pleasure to present it to you all. If you have any questions or comments, as always, please feel free to leave them down below. I would love to hear your thoughts and reactions to this video, anything that we talked about, so definitely check it out. Again, this is Rob Archangel of archangelink.com. Thanks again, Dale, and stay tuned for the video.
What do you think are some of the pros to self-publishing today versus the traditional publishing route?
Yeah, that's a good question. And the answer is, in traditional publishing, unless you're, Stephen King or J.K. Rowling or something, you're going to be expected to bring your own followership anyway. You are going to be expected to do a lion's share of the marketing and, putting your feet to the pavement and drumming up interest in your book. And you're doing it all for, 5 to 10, maybe 15% royalty commission, on the sale of your book. With self-publishing, yes, you're going to be doing that yourself as well, but you're actually going to earn the lion's share of the proceeds. Whatever with us, with Archangel Ink, we don't take any royalties on the back end. So, if you do, $1 million in sales, and that $1 million is yours, you've paid us to help you on the back end, and we've sent you off as best we can and set you up for success. But you get to keep all of that. And so with traditional publishing, you have the pro is you can kind of just focus on writing, and you don't have to worry yourself with all those other details. But the con is your royalty in exchange for all of that is very modest. And also, it's really hard for people to get a contract, to get picked up by a publishing house. Oh, yeah. The likelihood that you're going to get picked up if you're a typical writer is rather low, especially because of the way the industry is shifting. It makes more sense for, I'll say, because of the way the industry is shifting, publishers have less of an incentive to take a chance on somebody who doesn't have a big followership already, doesn't have an established followership already. And it's like, well, if you're going to have to do that on your own, you might as well actually make the money from it and reap the rewards instead of, signing your rights away to another company that's going to keep the lion's share of the proceeds anyway. Yeah. So with self-publishing, for us, one of the ways that we try to add value is to create that sort of traditional publishing house experience where we handle a lot of those details for you. We're not going to have you get involved, and figuring out the minutia of formatting for Kindle and EPUB editions. We're not going to overly ask you about the pacing in your audiobook. We're going to handle those details once, and then once you have it done, you can just focus on that brand building and getting your name out there and getting yourself in front of the public and providing that high value. So self-publishing makes a lot of sense for that reason. One other thing I will mention is the market is really wide open for self-publishers, and there are lots and lots of opportunities there. And the inverse of that, the other side of that, is there's a lot of stuff out there that isn't great. There's a lot of stuff out there that really maybe shouldn't be published. And and so it behooves you to put your best foot forward and to really compete on quality, and to be as strong as you can be, because, there's another 1 million or 4 million books in the Kindle store. Somebody takes a chance on you. They're not going to say, oh, well, I think this person has some good enough ideas. I'll give them a chance. I'll read their second and third book to see if they get better. No way. There's 1 million other people that want your attention. And so if you're fortunate enough through your efforts to get in front of a new reader, you want to pull them in immediately. You want to make it worth their while and not shortchange them at all if you can avoid it. And so, we try and help people with that.
That's so true, man. And I love that statement. And it really speaks to your integrity as a professional, because there is a lot of people just posting hack work out there. They don't bother getting an editor and proofreader. And ultimately, what they're doing is fleecing people of their money, because they're just putting drivel out there. And some people probably just don't know any better. They're just trying to put it out and say, oh, well, this is good. Yeah, well, if it's not good enough to hang on your mom's fridge, then it probably is not good enough to put on the market.
No, that's a great point. You want to be proud of it. And yeah, I understand people have different motivations, and like you said, there are probably some people who are doing the best that they can, that they don't necessarily have resources to assist them, and to help them really polish and professionalize it, and all power to them. I still wish everybody success. That said, at the end of the day, you are in a marketplace, and you are competing, and you are trying to, garner the attention and the interest and the followership of people. And, I really, really encourage you to do whatever you can to foreground your respect for them, respect for their time, respect for their dollars, and put out something that you feel great about. And, that you're always going to improve as a writer. You're always going to get better. They say the first book is the worst book. As you keep as you keep writing, you'll continue to hone your craft. But do whatever you can at every stage of the game to maximize what your potential is. And I think people recognize that and respond to that.
Yeah, wow, that's first book is the worst book. I am putting that on a sticker and on a t-shirt, because I'm telling you this, man, my first book was just an abomination. and a huge part of it being an abomination was my biggest step forward was wanting to publish a book and get it out there. And I wasn't so focused on making a living at that time. It's just, I wanted the challenge of putting out my first book. Well, I put it out, 0 editing. I made my own cover, which, oh my Lord. Oh my Lord. Yeah, looking back at it, it should go on, my Crapper Clap edition. I don't know if you've seen those before, right? I just take really crappy book covers and I talk about them. One of these times, I'm just going to show all the crappy book covers I have created over the past few years, and we're just going to showcase it so we can be a little bit self-deprecating over my channel.
Yeah, sure. That's fun.
yeah, for sure. But yeah, we're talking a little bit about hack work, man, and I don't want to go too far down the negative trail. And one of the things I've discovered, okay, as you and I both know, there's that 30-day window after a release that, a book can become a hot new release on Amazon. And we're just going to kind of focus on Amazon for this particular, the specific thing that I'm talking about. Now, there's that 30-day window. Can you share with us what is the importance of a hot new release, and how is that going to help a person sell more books? Yeah.
So when a book goes out on Amazon, they have no idea if it's a stud or a dud. They're pretty agnostic about it. And your goal, if you are really looking to maximize the impact of that first 30 days, is to get lots of eyeballs onto your page, and then turn those eyeballs very reliably into purchases. And so part of that is going to be getting your title right, getting your cover image right, having a good description, and then having some folks provide quality reviews, quality, thoughtful reviews right out of the gate. That's all going to help give credibility and prestige to a book. If somebody finds you and they've never heard you before, but hey, it just came out and it's doing really well in its category. It looks like it's professionally done. I click the check inside and there are no obvious errors or formatting issues, and they've got 3 or 4 reviews, or better yet, a dozen reviews already, then okay, yeah, it's worth taking a chance on. And so during your initial marketing phase, what a lot of people will do is they'll price it really competitively, either 99 cents or somewhere low, $2.99, somewhere around there, because you really want to get those eyeballs on and those conversions happening. And once you've done that, once you've shown Amazon, hey, this book is actually, it's hot, people are interested, even people who've never heard of it before, somehow they end up on this page. They click through and they purchase it. Amazon says, we want to support that. We want you to show up in front of more people, because that means our commission, our royalty for every sale sold. All things being equal, a book that is getting, let's say, a 1% conversion rate versus a 5% conversion rate is, same category and, same keywords and that kind of thing. Amazon is going to preferentially put the 5% converter in front of other browsers, through that, hot new releases category, or that you might also be interested, or customers also purchase, category, that organic marketing. And if you catch interest, then that really, they'll end up doing a lot of the marketing themselves. They'll put you in front of new readers pretty reliably and consistently, in hopes that you're going to continue converting them. And so that's sort of what Amazon is looking for. They look at the things like the rating. They look at the conversion rate, the click-through rate. They look at the frequency and recency of the ratings. So if you have a book, let's say that you put out and it got a dozen ratings all at once, but it's been out for 3 years, and the last rating was 2.5 years ago, all things being equal, they are going to preferentially put a book that has the most recent review from this week or this month ahead of it, because it says this is still relevant, this is still important, people are still buying it, and people are still interested in it. And so that's another reason to work on books that have some lasting quality. Obviously, some books are timely, and you're gonna, during election time or Super Bowl time or something, books are going to come out and people are going to write about them. But the books that perform well over time have some perpetual value, and Amazon will look out for that. So yes, during the first 30 days, you really want to put your ducks in a row and establish that this book has value, that people are interested in it, and that people are going to buy it when you put it in front of them.
Yeah, tremendous. There was a reason why I was heading over towards the hot new release category, because it's believed, of course, that 30-day window is where the money's at. You've got that time to really impress. And something that has been discovered, and I'm not sure if you've heard of this, is some people actually will get the writing done for them. They outsource them, which there's nothing wrong with that. You get your ghostwriters, and you can be able to make a very successful business out of it. And to a certain extent, a small portion of my business actually has been done with that, not under my name, but underneath different pen names and such. But what people will do is they will hire the writer. They'll make one work, we'll say. And then what they'll do is they'll allow it to go out on that 30 days, and it'll perform really, really well. It'll make maybe a few hundred to $1,000, maybe $2,000 in that first month. But then after that point, the sales drop off. So what the people believe is, okay, let me unpublish this and then republish it underneath another ASIN. So I would like to have your candid thoughts on something like this type of a method. Is it black hat, or is this okay to republish the same content over and over, not changing the title, not changing the content, maybe changing the cover, or just keeping it all the same?
Yeah, that's something I haven't heard too much about. My initial thought is that's fairly black hat. I don't like the idea of it, because at least, again, for us, we're really interested in building quality library and quality relationships with authors who are putting out useful and valuable content. Now, it is the case that Amazon, just like a lot of sort of sales channels, value what's new and what's hot. And so, you're almost like throwing it back in their faces, like, okay, that's how it's going to be. Fine. I'll unpublish it and I'll redo this, and, I'll take advantage of the stupid game that you're making me play. So I can understand that. But on the other hand, I think that you as a content creator, you don't want to deceive your readers. What happens if somebody shows up and they're like, oh, wow, Tom Smith, they had, the great book of publishing, and Tom Smith put out another one. Let me click on it. And then they get it and they're like, wait, this is the same exact
thing.
Yeah. And especially, what about if a lot of people don't read their books immediately? I know I've done that. Like, I have a book, I'll purchase it, and it'll take me a few weeks or a month or something to actually get around to it. But I purchased it. Maybe I purchased a second one, and then I realized, oh crap, this is the same book, and now I can't return it anymore because the author, like, it's two different ASINs, but the author, didn't do anything to change the content. So I'm not a fan of that. I don't like the idea of it on the face of it. I mean, if somebody has a good persuasive argument why it might be more effective than, or more ethical than I see it as, then I'm open to it. But yeah, on the face of it, I wouldn't recommend that.
Yeah, and I wholeheartedly agree with you. Just from an ethical standpoint, I know when I heard this particular strategy, I was like, okay, so they're releasing a second edition. No, they're not releasing a second edition. Because, see, I've done that. Actually, I have 2 cookbooks that I had put out. I didn't like the way it was originally, so I went back through and rewrote some of it, and I created a new title. And I also made sure to say within the copyright page that, hey, this was originally this book, so that way people knew. I never got a single low-star review for that reason, based on the fact that I had put out pretty much the same book, but I rewrote it to a certain extent, and it wasn't like I was trying to game the system. I just was unhappy with the first release. And truth be told, I didn't hire an editor. And that's why I was able to get an editor to go through and really pick it apart. And that's why I was like, going ahead and I was like, okay, this is a better cookbook. This makes more sense. I'm so glad I'm speaking with you about some of the pitfalls within the industry. And of course, I know that we and I can probably chop it up when it comes to knowing some of the cons of the business. Let's focus a little bit more on the newbie self-publisher for just a moment. Let's say I'm brand new. But man, I don't have the money to scrape together to hire someone like Archangel Ink to put my stuff together. What do you think is their game plan? What should a newbie self-publisher do?
Good question. A newbie self-publisher, I think, should one, ask themselves what their goals are. Figure out what their intention is. Are they looking to craft a bestseller? Are they looking to build their business through their writing? Are they looking to upsell people for other products or services that they offer? So that's going to impact a little bit their strategy and how they approach it. In terms of let's assume that somebody's interested in writing, they have that itch. One thing I would say is write all the time. Be consistent, have some sort of platform, whether it's a blog or social media or something. You're going to get better over time. Again, we mentioned, first book is the worst book. And that's not a bad thing necessarily, because it means that you are doing it, and that's a bigger step than most people take. They don't let perfection be the enemy of the good. Is sort of another expression that resonates with me. If you stop doing something because you're like, well, I can pick it apart and feel bad about it, and maybe it's not exactly perfect, and so therefore I'm never going to do it. It's like, well, you're not going to do much that way. You're never going to accomplish anything if you're not willing to take a chance. Another expression, there is a story, I think, of some historical armada, and the ship captain, they were going to go on a siege, and he burned the boats. He's like, we're gonna die trying, or we're gonna take this land. And it's like, try, go for it. Put yourself into it and see what can happen. And keep working at it. Continue working on your craft. And to some extent, you can't help but get better if you do something reliably and consistently. And you're going to do it reliably and consistently if you gravitate toward it, or if it's a natural pull for you. If it's something that you have to kind of tear your hair out to do, and like you can't stand it, and you're always putting it off, you're always finding an excuse to do something else, then maybe that aspect of business is not for you. And So one, get clear with yourself about what your skills and talents are, what your passion and motivation is, and then establish that. After that, I would say just work on it, get some feedback from friends and family. Even if you have zero resources to spend, if you have sweat equity, then there are lots and lots of opportunities. I'll use this chance to plug my self-publishing report, which is free on archangelink.com. It's available via email, but then also the first email, you'll have a direct link to a Mobi and a PDF and an EPUB file and all that, and actually an audio file. So, so there are lots of opportunities to learn this on your own. When I first started off doing this, I just spent months learning, just asking questions on forums and reading around what people were doing. And it'll take some time, but if you're enterprising and if you have a clear sense of what you're trying to accomplish, the resources and the material is out there. I put this together hopefully to help make it a little bit easier and to make that learning curve a little bit less steep, but it's totally doable. And I would encourage you to to do that piece by piece, get get outside friends and family, people who are willing to help you at various stages as you put out writing. One thing I would say as well is try and be reciprocal. Make the relationship reciprocal and have some reciprocity there. So if they're taking time and energy to read your book, offer to do something for them. It doesn't necessarily have to. They don't have to be a writer as well, but say, hey, I can watch your kids if you would take a couple of hours to read through and give me your feedback on this. Or, I can take your dog for a walk, or, let me help clean up around your house if you live with them, or, something. Just make it worthwhile, because I really believe that value begets value, that extending the olive branch and leading with sort of glad tidings will come back around. And if you're not willing to do that, and if you're just looking to extract from other people, you might get a little bit more in the short term, but in the long term, it's going to come at the cost of your relationships. It's going to come at the cost of your quality. I mean, to be a little dramatic about it, it's going to come at the cost of your soul. So don't do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think some people probably get just too passionate about what they're doing. From time to time, they think, oh, well, I'm giving you things for free. You owe me. You can even see it in sometimes these Facebook groups or these forums where people are just spamming these groups. Here's my free book. And, I'm like, hey, you should probably provide value. I am providing value. It's free books. They can read it for free. But that's your book. What compels me to do that is, I don't know if that's, something that you've seen, but it just drives me up the wall. I'm like, no, I'm not going to click on your link, because quite frankly, you haven't taken the time to build a relationship and say, what's in it for me? That's one of the biggest things you need to ask yourself when doing this business. What's in it for them? What's in it for the people that read and review your book, the beta readers, the friends and family, the graphic designer maybe that you're working with, either A, they're going to get paid, or B, you're going to have to pay them in some kind of, as you say, reciprocal payment. Yeah. I was going to say reciprocity, but I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right.
No, I think that's right. I think that's entirely accurate. Just, it's important to retain that sense of humility and let go of your sense of entitlement, if you have any sense of entitlement, because we're all out here trying. We're all doing our best day to day, and there's a good chance that as important as this is to you, this other person has something that's equally important to them. And so, if you're not speaking to that and not acknowledging that and foregrounding that to whatever extent that you can, they are not going to be as inclined to listen and to be engaged and to want to give back. I think people, by and large, good-hearted people want to be kind and generous and compassionate. And one of the ways that you can give them an opportunity to do that is by demonstrating, value ahead of time and showing that you have a sincere interest in them, because it gives them a chance to show a sincere interest in you. But if you're not doing that, if you're saying, hey, read this, or I'm going to unfriend you, or, whatever, then, okay.
Why didn't you like my page?
Right, exactly. Deuces. I'll see you next time, buddy. Yeah. Okay.
As we start to wrap up here, I wanted to ask you one final question to kind of just put a big bow on top of this. This has been fantastic speaking with you. So I'd like to know, where do you see the direction of the self-publishing business going over the next 5 years? Yeah.
That's something I think about with some frequency. I think that we're going to see more of an emphasis on quality. I think we're already seeing that. I think that Amazon is getting more effective at scrubbing the store of things that are obvious dupes and low quality. The sort of Kindle Gold Rush, I think, year or era has passed, where you can just put something up, and because there's only 15 books in category, you're going to make $500 or $1,000 a month. That's certainly not the case these days. And so I think there's going to be more and more of an emphasis on quality. And I think that's good ultimately for the reader. And I think that's probably actually going to be good for the content creator who's doing really good work, because it's going to mean that they don't have to compete with as many bottom barrel slop jobs that might be out there. Another aspect of, I think, self-publishing that's going to happen is people are going to increasingly move to building their own brand and building their platform through their own channels. And selling on site. Already some of the folks that we work with are doing that with some degree of success. Particularly, I think that's in part because Amazon has has such a strong competition and provides such an incentive to price your book really low. If you have a really high value book and a really niche market that you're appealing to, it might make sense to target directly to them, because, if you're, let's say, a business insider, you do financial consulting, and you have a very niche topic that is worth, let's say, $100 for a PDF because the quality is really good, you're not going to get $100 on Amazon. That book is probably going to do poorly and or get panned, and that's not going to do you any favors, because people are going to say, oh, this isn't worth what you're paying for it. So it may make sense in those cases to really target your ideal audience. And again, if you're doing the marketing yourself, just like you would in traditional publishing, maybe it makes sense to in-house the distribution, at least to some extent, and possibly use Amazon as a way to get people in. I mean, it's the largest book buying market in the world. So, some folks have shorter freebie books or low-cost books, and then the higher-end specialized books or video programs or that kind of thing that they offer to people who are already familiar with them. And so I think that is probably going to happen somewhat as time goes on for the people who are really interested in building their writing career, their content creation career, because it's going to allow them to capitalize more effectively on what they do that is really high value.
Tremendous. These are great words to finish up on, Rob. I definitely want to thank you for your time and energy that you've taken with me today. And we'll be able to give all the contact information for both of us here. And thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, Dale, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure, and look forward to it. I will talk to you next time.
Got it.